บางทีมาดีหมดโปรเฟชชั่นอลทุกสเต็ป
แล้วมันเก็บค่าตั๋วอะไร10,000
เฮ้ยไม่หมดเยอะแยะเวทีใหญ่ยิ่งหนักเดี๋ยวไม่ดังเดี๋ยวเครื่องแปลไม่ดังเดี๋ยวอะไรไม่รู้ตอนเตรียมดีอ่ะว่าหน้างานจริงบางทีเข้าใจ
หรอแล้วเดี๋ยวอันนี้มันจะตัดเข้าเองเลยเหรอคะ
เข้ามาทำเองเนี่ย
อ๋อ
แต่เราคอนเนคเฉพาะ LCD กับ
แล้วแกไม่บอกฉันนะแล้วแกไม่บอกให้ฉันเอาคอมมาแล้วแกบอกให้ฉันส่ง presentation มาทำไม
เขาก็ใส่ในลิงก์ไง
เขาก็ใส่เข้าไปในลิงก์ของเขา
พูดไปเอง
ใช่ครับเพราะว่าเขาออนไลน์เขาอีก2แต่กล้องนั้นออนไลน์เอา2กล้องนั่นแหละ5 นาทีมาของเลยมาแล้วนี่
ไม่เป็นไรเราฟังได้
หรือมาก็กินข้าวกินหัว
พี่น้องเมื่อวันนี้พี่น้องอยู่แกอยู่ที่วัดนี่ก่อน
ประจำพยามาดิมาจริง
บ้านจริงบ้านเป็นสถานที่อะไรนะ
เป็นศูนย์ใช้
ใช้วิลซี่
เอาไว้กระบวนการกฎหมายกันก็คือต้องอยู่ด้วยกันเมื่อก่อนเราก็โดนเขาก็ทำอะไรใช่เพราะฉะนั้นเขาถือว่าเขาเป็นคนทำสิ่งที่เขาเช็คไงแต่สำหรับเขาแต่ที่จริงคนที่ทำมาเขาไม่ใช่สัตว์คนที่ทำเขาไปดูในเพจใช้ว่าเป็นสิ่งเสร็จเป็นที่เป็นสัตว์ไม่เอาใช่ไหมเนี่ย
พี่หนุ่มขอ Wi-Fi ด้วยไหมพี่
ถ้าผมบอก
พี่ใหม่แล้วหนูจะเอา presentation ให้พี่ใหม่ได้ยังไง
เข้า
ของอารัตนะครับ
เข้าของตัวเองอ่ะ
มากเลยนะคะ
ได้
หนูว่าหนูมีอยู่ในตอนแรกหนูรู้สึกว่าหนูตะหนินะหนูกดเซฟใส่แอปพลิเคชันมาแต่ก็ไม่ได้เซฟ
หนูเข้าอีเมลของปิ๊กเลยจ้ะ
ไม่เดี๋ยวหนูส่งให้พี่ใหม่ทางนี้เพราะว่าหนูมีของแป้งอยู่
ทางไหน
ทางพีแกะ
โอ
usually they're reporting, and then is it that people only have the questions, so then I'll read from there for you what the questions are with them. Sure, it should be. I think that should be okay. Status, all right. Okay, that's a good sound.
Thank you. You are
Well, I'm not sure, but I know how it is. But they don't have anybody dedicated to help you in the room here.
There should be somebody. They may be on their way.
Okay, great. Now, are you connected?
Yes.
There we go. Okay.
Thank you.
Yes? Okay, I was helpful. Oh,
Yeah,
that's
Thank
good.
you. Thank you. Really
Yeah,
good.
I'm like, okay. Great. And then I think this is what allows, because people can dial into your session. Okay, let's. So. And are you in presentation mode? Okay. Are you using
This PowerPoint.
as a PDF? Okay, so then I think you just click through each.
If there's no presentation.
Yeah. I'm just.
Yeah, I know. That's right. People will completely.
Because this is what you should be on. So I wonder.
Okay,
what
we'll
was-
start.
Oh, okay.
I'll hand over. Just if there are any questions as we have been following, please put it in the app and we'll pick it up from there.
And if you're shy, move forward or not. Okay.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
Okay. Distinguished guests, colleagues, and friends. So it's truly an honor to be here today and to have the opportunity to speak with all of you at the Arans Conference 2025. So I would like to begin by express my sincere gratitude to the organizer for bringing us together such a common as an inspired group of the professionals who tirelessly to protect and empower victims of human trafficking. So the presentation today is we will talk about on the topic that supporting victims of human trafficking during the prosecution process and the best practice for working with the law enforcement and the court to pursue the compensation request. Today I will speak about how we can effectively support victims of human trafficking during the prosecution process, which is a time that can feel overwhelmed, confusing, and re-traumatizing for victims and their families. So the topic today is we'll just try to find the best practice. How do we deal with the victims during the criminal procedural process and the way that we get the compensation for the victims. So before I start my presentation, I would like to say that maybe the protocol or the legal in each country may differ, But as we working as an NGO or like whatever roles in the process, we can just okay.
A little louder, like the online people are having.
Okay. How to deal with like the victims and support their family during like the prosecution process. And one of the topic that I want to highlight is like how do we get the compensation? Even like we have like the different legal system, but at least you can get some idea from me, or like we can share the idea that how do we pursue the compensation for the victims. So the first of all, I would like to give the introduction about my organization. My name is Wiliyasinee Rinya, or you can call me like Big. So I am a legal team leader at Live International. Live International is like one of the NGO that's founded by New Zealand in 2011, and then they moved and based in Thailand. From when we start until today, we removed the victim from harm by like 877, and we just help the law enforcement to arrest the offender for like 415 offender, and we help the victim in order to get a compensation for 1.7 million New Zealand dollars. We work especially on the trafficking case, especially on sex trafficking and the other exploitation. And in 2023, Live merged with Haga International, so we focus on trafficking and effort and the trauma-informed care. We would like to have like a holistic process between Live and Haga in order to help the victim through the way since the first beginning until they can go back to live in the societies. So we hope that like both organizations here will help the victim through the Asia Pacific, and we have like achieving greater compact by working together. So first of all, I would like to just give a brief on what Live do. We have a four pillars of our work. The first one is like identify, and the second one is prosecute. The third one is protect and prevent. Identify, we aim to work on assist law enforcement in order to identify the victims and the offenders. By this, we have do everything like gathering the information and submit it to collaboration with the law enforcement and partner organization in order to locate where the crimes happened. And then we do the prosecution. Our legal team will help the victim, support them to access the justice process, pursue a compensation, and help them with all the legal proceeding. And also we have like the protect pillar that we provide a survivor support, including the legal assistance, care services, and rehabilitation and for reintegration. And the last one is prevention. We do believe that prevention is better than cure, so we raise awareness about the human trafficking and do proactively work to prevent the human trafficking and exploitation before it's happened. At this stage, we do the prevention through our partner, but in the future, we hope to expand that and work more in the communities. For the four pillars, we have go into the Live operation team. At Live, we have 5 operation team that we work as like a multidisciplinary team, because working in the anti-human trafficking cases, you cannot just work alone, just only lawyer or investigator or whatever, but we need a multiple skill in order to support the law enforcement and the victims. So the first one, we will begin with like our intelligence team, or we can call them short as an intel team. They will identify and analyze intelligence to build a comprehensive insight. The way that they work is they will go to the open source information like Facebook or whatever that everyone can go to, and they will collect and they will just find about like the details of the perpetrator, the location, and analyze whatever is related to the case. And after that, when they get some information, they will hand it to the law enforcement support who will working closely with the government organizations, like for example, the police or things like that, in order to arrest the perpetrators. And then we also have like the forensic team. As you know, nowadays the internet has played important roles on the human trafficking, and the digital forensic like phone or computer is one of the tools that the perpetrator use, to like commit the crime. So our forensic team, they will just do the extraction of from the data, extraction data from the perpetrator devices or sometimes victim devices, and that can help a lot to do the statements or whatsoever. But please note that we will do it by assignment, but because we was assigned by the government organizations, and we get like the permission from the victims and the owner of the devices before we doing that, because it's kind of like the personal data. But I can just give an example to you that like the forensics team, they played a very important role, because in many times when the perpetrator, they commit a crime, they just have a chat with their communities and they were taking photo or something like that. So the forensic information can help us in order to locate date and times when the offense occurred. So it can help. Sometimes the victims, they cannot just remember all of the situations, but the digital forensic will help us to identify that. And the last one, and the fourth one is my team. So my team will help the victims and the government's organization since the very beginning in every way that we can, because we believe that in the human trafficking case and sexual exploitations, the most important evidence is the victim statements. So we do more than a lawyer do. We will be everything for them if they need. We need to just help them to go through all the serious process like this. But the most important thing is we need to provide the legal suggestion, and we just inform them what rights that they have, and sometimes we help them in the criminal proceeding, and even when we have like a judgment, we do appeal for them sometimes. And the most important one of our team is like the social work, because you all know that in every victim or survivor of the human trafficking case of sexual exploitation, they had the wound in their heart, they had like traumatized. So the social worker teams, they will be the one who just look after them, like healing them. And at least they also play the important role to do the psychosocial assessment in order to help us to prove the damages, which it will help to claim a compensation, which I'm going to speak next to this. So this is like our teams, all of the operation teams, and when we will work together all the time. And this is like a whole protocol or a whole process of the human trafficking. I'll just show you, and I will go quickly like how it's work. And it's happened in Thailand. It may be different in some country, but in Thailand we will begin with like when the individuals they exploit in someone. The crime is happened. So after that, they will do the identification process. Like Lyft will do, or the investigator or the police, they will just try to identify the perpetrator and the victims. After we can identify the perpetrator and the victims, they will arrest and they will arrest the perpetrator, and they will help victim from the situations. And after that, the case will begin in the police state. The inquiry officer, they will start to gathering all of the information. They will just try to conducting the interview and gathering the information in Thailand. After that, they will have a victim identification process. Or in Thailand, we call การคัดแยกผู้เสียหายในคดีค้ามนุษย์ The reason why we have this process because the human trafficking case is quite different from the other forms of criminal cases. We never know that the victims or the people that we rescue from the crime scenes who will be the victim. So they will have the screening. This process is kind of the screening process. They will have a form in Thailand which is following with the component of the law, and they will interview the victims by the MDT team. And at the end of the day, when they have a result, they will know that who is the victims of human trafficking cases. And after that, when we can identify who is the victims, they will protect by the law of trafficking in Thailand, and all the law will get involved will be a Human Trafficking Act in Thailand. So, and after that, all the evidence and the witness statements, they will gathering by the inquiry officer. They will conclude the case and send their opinion to the public prosecutor. During that time, the MDT team, led by the Ministry of Social Development and Human Security, they will arrange the meeting in order to assess compensation. So it's quite unique in Thailand, but the compensation in Thailand in human trafficking case in Thailand, they were done by the state, which is, I think, it's a good development of Thailand. That the state have a play important role and provide a mechanism in order to help the victim to get a compensation, and we will get the compensation amount and submit it to the inquiry to the public prosecutor, and the public prosecutor, they will file a complaint to the court, and the court will acknowledge the lawsuit and just continue and conduct the legal proceeding until the court have a judgment. So this is the overall of the human trafficking protocol in Thailand, and we're quite lucky, especially in Chiang Mai, that the NGO and the government organization, they're working closely together, and we have a quite strong MDT here. So the next one that I will go to indeed that as an because I give you the overall for the pictures, the best result of the human trafficking cases, it's come from you connect the dot. So in every process of the case have the very important. So I will go through the details of how we work, and we aim to get the best outcome in the judgment and the compensation that we receive from the perpetrator. So the first one is maybe sometimes they have lots of work to do, and when we report that, it can help them to detect when the crimes happened. And after that, when they got arrested and when they rescue the victims from the crime scenes, especially on the termination day, the victim is still very scared. So as an NGO, we can help them. No matter you are the lawyer or no matter you are the social worker, you can explain to them that they are not arrested, but they are the victims. So they would like to know, the most question they would like to know is what's happened to me and how long it's going to be take for this process. So we just help them to give an advice and explain all the legal process, what's going to happen to them, and after this, where they're going to go, something like that. But the most one is we will prioritize the well-being between their body and their mind. Do they had anything to heal? Do they need to see a psychologist or do they need to see a doctor or something like that? And they will start to record what's happened to the mental of the victims. And after that, the victims will get better for a while in Thailand, and it will go to the victim identification process. As you are the NGO who work with the victim since the very beginning, you will know all the information from the victims. You will know what's the trigger their trauma, and then you will, as Uplift International, we join in every victim identification process on the work that we work with. We will just try to give the MDT team the information, because sometimes they receive the main information from the inquiry police. It will a lot of the circumstance. It will be a lot of circumstance on the case, but for the trauma or for like every other facts, they don't know that. But we can support them with this, because the victim, they will tell, like most of what they feel to us, and then this one can help when the MDT team will do the conclusion if they are the victim of the human trafficking or not. Or in some country that they have the victim identification as the people who stay with them since the very first day, you can accompany them to see the inquiry police and just help them to just go through their mind and just give the statement to the inquiry police. And after that, after the identification process, the inquiry process will start. The victim need to see the inquiry police. At this stage, sometimes we need to help them in order to just tell the story in details as much as we can. Sometimes we can accompany the victims to go, like to meet with the inquiry police, because like sometimes the victim, they will have a lot of limitations, or they don't know the process how to meet with the inquiry police. And after that, in Thailand, we will have like the process that the victims can ask support for the remedies for the government. So we will help them to provide the applications in order to submit for the remedies, in order to receive the remedy for the judgment, because we have a compensation act that will provide the expense of the physical treatment and help, some money for the victims between the case. And after that, we go to the assess the damage. So as I have mentioned before, that the MDT team, they will just arrange the meeting between the MDT teams, where the place with the public prosecutor, the inquiry police, the doctor, or whoever who relate in the case, they will come together and sit, and they will assess like how much of the compensation in this case should be. Sometimes, like as an NGO or as the person who working with them, you can just tell them like how hard of the situation happens, and they can access like the proper compensation to the victims, because sometimes it's just only the inquiry police statement cannot told everything, and at this stage the MDT team, they will not know what's happened to the victim, especially on their mental health. And after that, in Thailand, the case was submitted to the public prosecutor. And when the public prosecutor, they receive the information, they will receive just only the paper. And they will just know, I call like the dry information, which is they don't know like what kind of the question is triggered to the victims or something like that. And it's quite been a long time after the police submit the case file to the public prosecutor. Some of the victims, they will quite forget, the statement that they gave to the public prosecutor. So at least we will coordinate with the public prosecutor in order to connect the victims and the public prosecutor between the trials start. And the public prosecutor, they will get more understanding about what's happened to the victims, and they can avoid, the question that may trigger to the victim. Because if the time is passed for a while, but if when the victim has a trigger questions, she will have some traumatized. Some victims, have panic, some of them is seizure or things like that. And before the trial starts in Thailand, the public prosecutor, he will include of claiming compensation into his complaint. And I think the most difficult thing that we do is how to prove the damage. Because if you would like to claim a compensation from the defendant in the court, you need to do in kind of like the civil case, use as a tort law principle, which means you have a burden of proof how the damages happen to them. So in Thailand, we always claim like the physical damages. The physical damages is easy to see because everyone can understand that, but the mental health damages is very hard to prove to the court that it happened to the victims because you never see it. So this one is we just try as especially as like the social worker or the lawyer who work with the victims, we always use the assessment from like the expertise, maybe a psychological. At least we do something that we call social psycho assessment, which is like kind of like a report from our psychologists in order to explain what's happened to the victims, how impact to the victim. Because even we had a medical certificate, but doctor will just always say, very short thing. Or sometimes they just say the major depressive disorder, but the judge, they will not understand how it's affect to the victim's life. But the PSA, this one will help to explain how affect to the victim's life. Or sometimes we use the victim impact statements because when we ask the victim to tell the story many times, it's like kind of like re-traumatizations. So I always ask the victims that, okay, would you like to write your feeling or the situations, or what would you like to communicate to the judge in your statements? And they will describe, like what's going on to them, how do they feel, and how do it affect with their life, and all those type of things. And moreover, they will have the damage of their reputation. Because in some community in Thailand, even you are the victims, but you lost of your reputations, you lost of your credit, your family would lost with that. And sometimes, and the most important thing that you lost of the human dignity. So this one is, we just try to prove to the court that, one of the damages. And the Ministry of Social Development in Thailand, they will have like a guideline for the multidisciplinary team to access the compensation for the victims. And one of the criteria that I really like is loss of the joyful of life. Because the victim, they cannot just like live a life as as usual. They will have something that happened to their life that the perpetrator need to compensate for them. And for all these things is as a lawyer, we will just try to make it happen, and we will just try to like prove to the court. If the victim, it's happened many times when the victim meet with the perpetrator in the court and they can give they cannot give their statements, and sometimes they will have panic or things like that. But the victim impact statement can help a lot with that. And we will stay with the victims along the court proceeding, and our social worker team, they always be there at the court because the lawyer, they will be busy with the case, but the social worker, they will, look after the victim and just look after that, avoid them to confront with the perpetrator until everything is finished. And at the end of the day, the court will deliver a judgment. And if we think that it's not, it can become, a judgment. The judgment can become the standard for our society. And if we think it's not a good standard, we will do appeal. And in Thailand, the compensation is civil cases. It's a civil cases. If the perpetrator they do not pay a compensation, the social ministry and development they will do the execution process. So it's the execution process they will sort out the perpetrator property and they will sell it in order to get compensation and pay for the victims. So we will just assist them, on this process. So I will give you the case study, just give you an idea how do we work. This case study is a scamming cases which work with the victims. So our victims they found the advertisement on one online platform, which is they advertise that they will have a job with a good benefit, and these victims they would like to help their families. At that time they were 19, so they applied for the job, and the agency said that okay, you need to travel from Chiang Mai to meet the agencies in Bangkok, and they just travel from Chiang Mai to meet the agency in Bangkok, and when they meet with the agency said that, oh, we cannot just send you to work in the country that we make an agreement at the first time because you have some problem with your passport. So we will send you to somewhere else, and after that they will have like a driver to drive it and take them to the Thai border. And after that they will have another agency in a neighbor country to take her to one of the company, one place, which I'm gonna call like the first company. And when she arrived at the first company, they gave them a script. And when she read it, she found that it's kind of like the script that she needs to lie to people in order to transfer the money to them, to the scam company. And she said, oh, I don't want to do this. I don't want to lie, like to people. And I would like to quit. And at the first company, they said, okay, I will send you to somewhere else, and they will call the driver to pick her up. And during the way, she hear the driver is talking with the first owner company that they pay 100,000 baht for buy her from Thailand, and the driver need to just sell her 25 times for sexual service in order to get like 100,000 baht back. And she just told to the driver that, oh, I wanna be sold. It will be good for me if I'm gonna work as a scammer. So they just took her to another company, and she worked there just for a week as a scammer to lie to the people and just talking according to the script. But at night time, they just let them to use their phone. Yeah, and so she took the opportunity because like during when they work, they will have a basket, and everyone need to put on their phone in the basket. But after they finish work, they will have a right to use their phone. And she just tried to contact with her families and her family is know our staff, and they contact just us to help. So our LE team just try to have a chat with the victims, and until we can locate where are they, and when we know that, we just let the law enforcement know this has happened. Okay, and after that, LES team will still communicate with the victims to make sure that she's safe and to make sure that she was not harmed, because the victim told us later that if you cannot work as the assignment that they gave you, they will beat you, they will hurt you, and they will sell you to another company, another scamming company. And another side, live team, we just try to communicate with the law enforcement, like the Royal RTP and the Thai embassy on that country, in order to help the victims. And finally, we can help the victim from the scamming center. And the victim was sent back to Chiang Mai. And after that, when they arrive in Chiang Mai, our social worker team and our legal team just meet her and ask her if she okay, or if she had something that really want some help from us, and ask her if she want to prosecute the agencies or the people who get involved with this. And she said, I would like to pursue the justice, because I don't want other people to have, to be in the same situation with me. So after that, on this case, I don't want a victim to tell many times about what's happened to her. So I asked her to write down what's going on to her, and everything that she can recall. She's take a while. She just gave me, the kind of like a situation report, and it contains everything. And after we get that, and we get another evidence from our intel and LES team, we hand it to the inquiry police and just file a complaint to the police. And the police, when they read that, they just ask just more questions. That they will ask her to tell all the beginning of the story, but they will use that, the record that the victim write to us. But the most important thing is, when the police providing the statement, don't forget to tell the victims, to tell the police that she also had a mental injury, because it needs to be in their statement, just in order to be claiming after. And after that, the inquiry police team can gather all of the information and submit it to the public prosecutor. It takes a while until the case will have a trial in the court. And at that time, the victim is re-traumatized, and the victim is getting better, and she's recovering. And when the trials come, the victim is very ready to give their statement. And at that time, our social worker will be with her all the time. On this case, we can arrest just the driver who took her from Chiang Mai to Bangkok, but we still cannot arrest the offender, who is the owner of the scammer company. Both of them are still run away. But at the end of the day, so the victim, they can give the very perfect statement to the court, and the court believe that the trafficker is exploit her and have a judgment to just put him in jail for many times. And the victim, she can receive the compensation. But one thing that happened on this case is, I have mentioned earlier that in Thailand, the victims, they have a right to ask for the remedies from the government, the Ministry of the Justice. But on these remedies, our case was dismissed because the committee, they concerned that the victims, they do not receive any damages. But we do appeal for that order because we believe that the victims, they have the traumatized from that. And we use the evidence as the social cycle statements and the victim statement in order to appeal for this. And finally, the committee, they will approve and they will agree for our appeal, and the victim, they can receive the compensation. This is the first scamming case in Chiang Mai that the victim receive a compensation from the government. Okay, and at this stage now, the victim, she's go back to her normal life, continue to study in the school, and this case is terminate, and we think it's one of our successful case and live and in Chiang Mai NDT in order to working together to help the victims. So there is some challenges in working on a human trafficking case, including with the other exploitations. The first one is sometimes the victim, they will not, they refuse to give their statements because they was threatened or the fear of the perpetrator, or sometimes the trauma wounds destroy their memories. So this one can happen when you're working on the human trafficking cases. Many times that we would take time to help the victim to record their memories, or after they was put in a shelter, they will just, a bit by a bit to give their statements, but you have some kind of these situations happen. So you just take time and just make sure that the victim was secure, and finally they will give you. Because in human trafficking cases, without a victim statement, the case will not go well. So the most one is, this one is we need to work out on that. And the second one is the victims, sometimes, in my experience, they will forget something. Because that situation that happened to them, it just hurt their feeling, and they would like to forget it. But unfortunately, that one is, one of the things that you need to state in the statements, and they need to tell. So the psychologist can help you with that. Just don't focus on just the criminal cases, but support on the victims' mental health is also important for working with our victims of the human trafficking case and sexual exploitation. And sometimes, I believe that it may happen in many countries. The victims, they need to tell the story many times to, like, the NGO, they get involved, to the police, they need to present their statement to the court or whatsoever. So if we see that the victim is not ready to give those statements, we will need to coordinate or working together with the law enforcement. That do we need to find the other ways to help the victim? Sometimes we can present like the statement instead of just get the testimony to the court or whatsoever. Because if we just try to force them to speak many times, they will traumatize. So for me, I will ask them to write down, and then people can rate, what's going on with them. And the most challenging that's happened in Thailand is the victim did not receive the civil remedies and compensation because the perpetrator, they don't have money to pay for that, and they don't have the property to sell. So sometimes we just complete a whole process, but the victim will not get anything. So this is one of the challenges that happened to us. And the most important thing is like the situation in each case is different. We cannot use like the one method with every case. We need to consider which method is better for our victims. So I think this is like the most important, because if we understand the victim, if we help them, we will get the best outcome from the result of the cases. So I will finish my presentation if you have like questions. So feel free to ask.
There are some questions.
Yes.
Maybe in the chat, or maybe you can
Yes,
also ask.
through the app.
And if you have others that you haven't put in.
So the first question is, how would you work to match cross-border policies to handle human trafficking issues? Because different countries will have different laws. Right?
So we work with like Thai Royal Police, and in the same way we work with the Royal Embassy in that country, because we do not have like the jurisdiction to another country. So in this case, if this happens with the Thai people in another country in Thailand, we will collaborate with the embassy there through our police in Chiang, and they will collaborate through the embassy there. And the embassy, Thai embassy in that country, they will collaborate with the police in that country in order to help.
There's another question. Are there issues of corruption, bribery, and all of that which make your work in getting prosecution through difficult?
Oh,
So,
I believe that they will have some, but in my experience, we luckily that we met with like the good police, and we had like a good partner. On lived experience, we never faced with like the corruption, but I believe there will have some happen in somewhere in the world. But one thing that the most important and stronger than the corruption is you need to provide the good and strong case files. Because if you have the strong case file, when the case is prosecuted to the court, the case will be win. So as an NGO who know the most information, you can support that to the government agency. I believe that the strong case file will be win with the corruption.
how do the PSAs that you create, the PSAs?
PSA.
Yeah.
Oh, the PSA.
So how are they creating precedents so that all cases require a PSA?
Oh, the PSA is the psychosocial assessment.
Yeah.
It's come from the idea that how do we prove the mental health to the judge? Because I would say that the traumas or the mental health in Thailand is not, like people, they will not understand that much, including with the juristic person, or sorry, according to, especially on the judicial people. So we will ask our social worker and our psychologists who work with the victim since the very beginning. They will have a chance to talk to the victims, and they will report. And they will know that the victim, what the damage that the victims they have from the situations. For example, some victims they will have a PTSD. Some of them they will have a major depressive disorder, and all this psychologist is one of the expertise who can give the witness to the court, and their report is one of the evidence that we will present to the court to claim a civil compensation for the victims. So if you are a social worker or if you are a psychologist to work with the victims, you always make a note, right? what you done with the victim or things like that. And for you professional, you can assess how the impact of the victim life, what the damages that happen to them. But I can say that it is one of the best evidence that the judge will, like use it for making a decision on the judgment. And this is one of the evidence that can show how the trauma happened. It's similar to the medical certification, but it's more explaining. If you use it together, it will work well in the court.
How are you seeing the trauma-informed approach impact the justice process in Thailand?
Yeah. Sometime in the past, like many years ago, the victims, they were asked by the question that they will trigger them. Why you do this? Do you like this? Or things like that. But it's getting better when people understand the victims, they had the trauma. All the victims of the sex trafficking cases or the sexual exploitation, they will have trauma, and they will consider that what kind of the question or how do they treat the victim in order to help them to protect with to prevent the trauma will happen. So it's I think it's the most important thing is you need to communicate with the people who don't know about the trauma that the victims have. Like for example, if you go to the police and you are the NGO working with the victims, you can just tell them, okay, she's scared of the narrow places, or she's scared of the old man who look like a Chinese or things like that because he seems like a perpetrator or things like that. So when the people or when the government agencies, they will know that, they will just avoid the way that they treat to the victims.
Is there any mechanism that protects survivors from having to give statements multiple times? You said it happens from time to time.
Yes, in Thailand, actually, the victims, they have to give their statement to the inquiry police, or sometimes they need to give with the public prosecutor, and sometimes they need to present the evidence to the court on the trial. But in Thailand, according to the criminal procedural laws, when the victim need to present or give their statement to the inquiry police, we need to do the video record of that, and they will have the MDT. For example, the inquiry police, the public prosecutor, the social worker, and the people whose victim trust to be there. And if the victims, they cannot give their statement, we will use that record in order to present instead of her. Or just sometimes when the victim, we cannot contact with them, because in Thailand it's take a while since the justice process begin until the court trial. It will take 7 to 12 months. Sometimes they just work in somewhere else or whatever. We will use that record.
In what ways have you seen the legal process support the survivors' healing journey? In what ways has your job, the legal side of things, has it helped survivors' healing?
Survivor healing?
Yeah.
This is a good question. I can tell you every trauma can heal with the justice. I haven't experienced to saw our victims. She had a very bad experience in her life, but we will help her to go through the criminal proceeding until the Court of Appeal had a judgment. It's maybe more than 5 years. And on the day that she knows the judgment of the Court of Appeal, she said the chain that block her ankle is breakthrough, and she can leave the past and just go to the future. So I think the justice is one of the most important that can help victims to go through, but along the way to pursue the justice, the most important thing is we will be with the victims all the time. We will make sure that they will not just fight alone, but we will have them to accompany them. And then we will just try to empower the victims to have a power to fight for themselves. This is the most important. If they know that they are not fight alone, they will fight for themselves.
I think the last question that I can see is, are your services available in other countries?
Oh, another country?
Yeah.
Not at this stage, but we hope to be in the future with Haga. We work like through the Thailand, but not yet to the other countries.
Right. I think that is all. So thank you for a very
Thank you everyone for being here today, and it's very honored to meet with all of you and the people through the online. Thank you.
ใช่แล้วก็จีนี่อยู่ด้วย
Very deep into a We'll do it here, we'll do it on the screen. Oh yeah, that's
It just refreshes. Yeah, so it's almost like
it's like a
So yeah, it's really about these realization. I used to like lie over and like read the book to her and stuff. Fall asleep and get home. It's so hard to get up and do it.
I've just been in Bali. We got back a few weeks before I came away with the kids, and we did some local yoga in one area with all of us, and then we moved into another area, but we got there as an environment. It was this one night, it was like we was about 40 people there, and it was like really full. It was like it wasn't, we didn't know much. It was sort of like, just didn't make sense, find your shadow self and breathe it in and breathe it out and listen to the true deception of mankind. We just got involved. We couldn't look at each other. And it was sort of in this really area of Bali, and there was all this people, and like no one smiled and looked at each other and talked. Just it was the whole thing was really in contrary to 2 days before we did another video. So it was outside and it was really gentle and everyone was really friendly. And in Bali it was all these kind of hipsters, and then they'd give you free flowing time, and there were all these like really unhealthy looking, skinny girls doing like headstands, and everyone was doing like bikini tops and spans. It was just like what even is this? But they did have sexual sauna, comfortable, and we paid on Thursday, and we had to do it every single day, and that was doing it. And my daughter's found plunge pools at, friends, an ice bath, it's not a plunge pool. But it was an outdoor ice bath, and it sat at about 6 degrees.
I know that's so hard. I think everyone's so I don't think that's working out.
Yeah, but we increased our time every day.
My friends would love it.
But just how you felt, I was in shock. This is our school, which we counted each other down. That's my youngest, so that's 7 degrees. There's Kevin. He did 4 minutes.
Wow.
There's the kids counting.
Wow.
I think I did 2.5. But Lulu said it's much easier than she found this harder than an ice bath where you're like this. But then also it was like you were outside and you just got into a different focus. And then we moved to school. So we do 3 lots.
I think that's like by the time I finish, out lying in the grass, and my body temperature gets normal, and I'm like, I feel so much better now. Like I don't feel like it's just deep and shit. It's like a lifetime of balance.
And I think I was listening to an interview at Stacey's son. She's an athlete, but she specialises in menopause and addiction one I read as well, the dose effect. And they were saying that so actually it only needs to be under 15 degrees for women, and it doesn't need to be that low, because it's much harder for us to get homeostasis. We get cold, we've got this fat, and you just need a minimum, and that, anything up to, anything from a minute onwards is amazing. That's what they're saying for women. If you do a full minute and it's under 15 degrees, it's similar because the research on, when you have to breathe in and that cold, ice baths was what you're doing. Food with that food for long, you've got fatty muscle. Yeah, interesting. Petra and I do one day we do Pilates together at 8 o'clock, and then we always come, we've got a swimming pool at home, and then we come back and we government pulled the whole thing together. And
Like my head gets used to that.
well, yeah, exactly. I know what yeah. It's really cute. Like, I was actually often paid beforehand. Like, it's just like the ultimate morning, like 9 o'clock. Yeah.
T-Y.